We're here with Debbie Spander, the CEO and founder of Insight Sports Advisors, also an attorney and sports agent by trade. Debbie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Can you share more about your background in sport and entertainment before we dive into some questions?
Absolutely. I founded Insight Sports Advisors almost 3 years ago. It's a boutique agency representing sports media, coaches, front office execs, and NIL athletes. Um, I've been very passionate about NIL for years and very excited that college athletes finally have the opportunity to earn money. However, also worried about protecting them. Prior to Insight Sports Advisors, I was SVP of media and coaching at Wasserman. And before that, I was a sports lawyer at Fox Sports. So I've kind of been on both sides of the industry over the past 20 plus years.
Thank you. Well, first question for you here, Debbie, is for a student athlete that's starting out at their university and they're getting their first, their second, their third NIL deal, and now they're getting to a point where they need to start looking for an advisor or agent to help them execute deal number four, deal number five. What should that student athlete be looking for as they interview agents, as they look for certain qualities? What should that athlete be assessing when they're meeting with potential agents to help support them?
Absolutely. First of all college athletes should know that they have the right to representation now in this NIL era. And if they are told differently, they should run the other way. They definitely have the right to representation by either a lawyer and or an agent. And if they feel the need that they and their family need the protection, they should definitely reach out and start interviewing. Probably need to know the difference between an agent and a lawyer before they make this decision. So a lawyer is the member of the bar, which means they have to adhere to a set of ethical standards and rules. An agent does not have to be a lawyer. Typically, an agent will specialize in one sport or another, or media, coaching, etc. Um, Playing commissions, e.g., NBA, NFL, NHL, are regulated by the league and union collective bargaining agreements. However, there are no collective bargaining agreements in college. So sometimes there's an extreme range of fees. So that is definitely an issue you should be discussing with potential representation. One thing you should consider is that lawyers bill by the hour and agents take a percentage of the deal. So it's really up to you and your family which you think would be a better option. If you just want to pay $500 an hour for 10 hours or whatever, the lawyer gives you an estimate and be done with the contract. Or if you want to enter into a long-term agreement with a marketing or other agency, which will take a percentage, which is typically 10 to 20% of all of your deals moving forward.
Great. And in the NIL era, specifically in that last point with the various fees, can you speak into any experience you have in working with collectives versus brands, and what those different structures could look like with the contract, and then also potentially with what you've seen with agent fees for collective deals versus brand deals?
Absolutely. So collective deals, you're really entering an agreement to um, do appearances, social media, et cetera, on behalf of this group that represents your university but isn't your university. It'll typically be structured throughout the school year, where there's payments monthly or payments quarterly, and you're going to be asked to appear at a dinner, a signing, boys and girls clubs, etc. There needs to be consideration for the money they're giving you, so you do have to do something and not just accept collective money. It's usually not too heavy of a lift, however. On marketing deals, however, you're actually going to be representing the brand, Nike, Adidas, um, Under Armour, body armor, beverages, there's tons and tons of categories, and they're going to be expecting you to use those items, wear those items whenever possible. If your athletic department has a deal with a different athletic brand, then you need to wear that athletic brand for on the field of competition, practice, etc. But you'll be expected to wear your Vuori or whatever it is at all other times. If it's a beverage, you're going to be expected to be holding the Gatorade, the body armor, whatever, for all of your interviews and be seen in public with that brand and not with the competing brand. So in general, plain contracts are regulated by collective bargaining agreements, which I referenced before, and there's a maximum amount of commission that's allowed to be charged, which is usually 4 to 5%. Marketing agreements, on the other hand, are 15 to 20%. The big issue right now is because collectives are a little fuzzy what they are, they're being commissioned by most agencies and agents as marketing deals. However, you have market power. If the agency wants to represent you, you can say, I will enter into this agreement, but if it's a collective deal, I'm only paying 10%. And for the marketing components, I will pay 15 to 20%.
Great insight there. And you mentioned the difference between attorneys and agents as well. And I'm curious, in terms of the services that an athlete should be asking for from those two entities or those two individuals in
Mhm.
their network, what crossover exists there and what should they go to an attorney for specifically versus their marketing agent?
So the crossover is that both of them can negotiate deals and probably get you a great deal with the collective, with the marketing entity, brand, etc. The difference probably is that most lawyers aren't out there searching for brands on a daily basis. It would be more like, hey, I have this deal. Can you negotiate for me? You're a specialist in sports and entertainment. You understand the terms I should be looking for. Whereas a marketing agent, a marketing agency is probably out there sourcing deals more than a lawyer. On the flip side, you will probably over the life of the deal spend less on a lawyer because it'll be a one-time fee for negotiating the contract and getting the contract sorted out versus an overall percentage of that one deal or all your deals moving forward.
As a student athlete is reviewing their first brand, marketing deal, and with your experience reviewing and going through hundreds and thousands of contracts from the marketing side and employment side, I'm curious to hear from you. What are the top 3 to 5 terms or red flags that an athlete should be aware of when they're looking at a contract and looking to sign something?
In terms of a representation agreement, what you're going to sign with either a law firm or an agency, a law firm will most likely have you sign a letter of engagement and set out what their fees are, both the main lawyer, if there's associate lawyers, if there's background fees, that'll all be in the letter, and they'll probably require some sort of payment up front, like $2,000, nothing crazy. And that's that. For a agency representation agreement, it's much longer and it kind of covers your entire relationship. So the things to look out for are the length of the contract, which is called the term legally. All college NIL agreements need to be terminable when you end your NCAA eligibility. So whether that is because you've played your 4 or 5 years and it's up, or because you declare for a draft. At that point, if you're going to re-sign with the same agency, you need to do a new deal because one of the things that the NCAA and the states require is that NIL representation agreements be terminable. So that's definitely something you should look out for. The other are the duties. Are they just going to be doing a contract for you? Are they going to be going out and sourcing contracts? Is it collective deals? Is it marketing deals? Just make sure that is all spelled out in the agreement. The third is the fee or compensation, as it is legally called. Again, you don't ever want to enter into agreement that's calling for 25%. That is way over industry standard and they're taking advantage of you. Ideally, would like to enter an agreement where it's about 10% for collective deals and 15 to 20% for marketing deals, appearances, etc. The fourth is billing. Are they going to be collecting the monies on your behalf, taking their commission out and then sending you the rest? Or are you going to be paid directly and then pay them a commission monthly, quarterly, etc.? Again, make sure that's spelled out. Another very important part of NIL representation is that there is school notification. You and or the agency, depending on what state you're in, need to notify your school, your athletic department, that you have entered into this agreement. And then the sixth important issue is governing law. If you're in Alabama or Nevada and the marketing agency is in New York, they're going to try to use New York law, which is very different. You should try to push for the state you're in. You might not get it, but it's a good thing to ask for.
Thank you. And in your experience too, as a professor at a university, teaching an NIL class, which we've started to see more and more, across the country, which is outstanding for young athletes to learn from experts like yourselves. What types of questions are you hearing from the students and particularly the student athletes in those classes? And what key topics are you covering in that class?
Some of these things that I'm talking about right now, some of the things that Mark Eisenberg just talked about. We also have a checklist for marketing and sponsorship agreements if you want me to go through that. But I mean, that's really been the biggest questions are what should I be looking for? What are the agencies or lawyers going to do for me? How do I enter into the agreement? How do I get out of the agreement? Do I have to have representation? And no, you don't have to have representation. If you and your family can handle it, that's totally fine. It's just often good to have an expert help you. Whether you are doing your collective and marketing sponsorship agreements on your own with your family, or whether you are retaining the services of a lawyer, law firm, or agency, you should also be involved in the process and not just let them negotiate everything and give you the done deal. And the things you should be looking out for are, again, the term. How long is it? Is it just for the college or basketball season? Is it longer? I've tried to negotiate deals where if it's for the college football season, they end in December. So if the team is in a bowl game or now it's going to be the playoffs, that we can do a new deal with more money because now you're more visibility, bigger stage. Number two is the territory. It really should be limited to just the United States. I have seen a number of deals which are worldwide, and you don't want to be giving up your rights worldwide for a small amount of money. Now, if it's a Nike, Adidas, a big deal, then you can give up worldwide rights. But if it's for a scooter or some local deal, you need to make sure the territory is limited to the United States. The third is the services. What are you going to be doing for this marketing agreement? Are you going to be posting an Instagram reel once a month? Are you going to be making 6 appearances at a Boys and Girls Club at times to be determined? Are you going to dinners with alums? Do you need to wear the clothing at all times when you're not on the field? This is really important that you understand what you're agreeing to and the time it's going to take because you're a student and you're an athlete and those are going to come first. So you need to make sure that you're going to have time to fulfill the services that this brand deal wants you to do. And the fourth is how are they using your NIL? Are they just using it to promote the dinners and have you speak? Are they just using it to promote these charity events? Or again, can they take your tweets or your posts and use them throughout the world in perpetuity, which you do not want. You want to limit it. Perpetuity means forever. That is a bad thing, especially if you become a professional. So you want to make sure you or your representative limits those terms to really this season that you're entering into the agreement or the seasons you're entering into the agreement, and everything should restart once you leave college and you become a professional. Another important is how much are they paying you? The compensation section. How much are they paying you? When are you paying you? When do you get paid? Those things should all be spelled out very specifically. Is it 30 days in arrears? Is it up front? Is part of it up front? Is part of it at the end? Again, make sure that is all spelled out and you have a way to get paid. Number 6 is exclusivity. Are you going to be exclusive in the region? Are you going to be exclusive with this clothing with any clothing, with athleisure? Are you going to be exclusive with athletic drinks? You need to make sure what the exclusivity is, that you can meet it, and that they're paying you enough to be exclusive. If it's your first deal and they're paying you a couple $1,000s, I wouldn't accept exclusivity. And finally, an important point is ownership. Who's going to own the content you produce, whether it's a video of you at an event or at a charity? They're probably going to own it. If it's the social media that you create for them in post, they should have the rights to it for 3 months, 6 months, a year. But again, they shouldn't own it in perpetuity, because you never know, if you become a huge star, they're going to want to reuse it. And you can see some of those that have happened over the years with Tyus Edney and some other former NCAA stars who Coke and some car companies were able to use their name, image, and likeness for 10, 20 years. And hopefully now, with our new NIL world, you're able to limit that to just the year of the contract.